Now that you made the decision to go through your divorce with your ex, you're now faced with another difficult choice that you have to make. And that is, do I continue living in the same house, cohabitating, co-parenting with your ex, or do you make the decision to now start moving out and getting out of there as soon as possible? Now, this question is very difficult to answer because many of us come from different situations. And so my goal for today's video is to share with you my experiences of what it was like cohabitating and co-parenting in the same house with my ex, so that way you can make the best decision possible. I'm also going to share with you two big mistakes that I made that you can learn from, so hopefully it will help make this transitional phase in your life as smooth as possible for your kids as well as for yourself. So going back to when we first made the decision to separate and divorce, this was about 5 years ago. I decided to continue living with my ex, and we actually did so for about 18 months, so almost 2 years. And the whole reason why I stuck around for that long was very simple, and I'm sure most of you would relate to this. Having to go from seeing your kids full-time to part-time was really something that almost broke me. I couldn't bear with the fact that after seeing each of my children grow up from a newborn to the age that they were at that time, and going from being able to now see them 100% of the time and now only going to a part-time status, it literally almost broke me. So I was very fortunate that I was able to negotiate with my ex, to still continue living together. We were also fortunate to live in a space where we could have 2 separate bedrooms, so we had our own privacy, but so that way it could also show our kids that, yeah, mommy and daddy aren't together anymore, but we're still their parents, we still love them, and we're still around them 100% of the time. So over the course of 18 months, I felt that that period was super beneficial for my kids, for a couple reasons. Number one, it lessened the burden of hearing the message from me and their mom saying that their mom and dad aren't together anymore. I know that there's a lot of situations where the message is delivered to the kids, and then all of a sudden, one parent moves out immediately, or sometimes that even happens before that message is delivered to the kids, and that could have a very negative impact. So as much as you possibly can, you want to reduce the blow of this life-changing event. So what I learned going through this experience is staying in the marital home for a period of time to help the kids through that transition was super helpful, because eventually when you look at it, it is a two-phase approach. Number one, you deliver the message that you're not together with your ex anymore, but you're still living in the same house, so they're still experiencing some sort of familiarity and regularity with the routines that you've established. And after a period of time, when you finally make the decision to move out, or your ex does, it's going to be that much easier for them to adapt, because it's not 2 main changes in one go. You essentially break it apart and space out the timing so that way they can adopt it and absorb it, and get used to the fact that their parents are no longer mommy and daddy or married together, right? So that was very useful. What did lead to me finally moving out at the 18-month mark is also very simple as well. She was dating someone at the time who was buying my kids gifts that I could not afford. And throughout the period of 18 months we were together, she was actually dating that whole time when I was not and working. And so you're probably thinking, well, why did you stick around in the first place? Again, I prioritized my kids' happiness, and I wanted to make sure that this life-changing event did not scar them for life. So I tried to hang in there as much as possible. But as you all know, there's only how long that can last until someone gets angry and breaks and needs to move out. So in my case, I just didn't want to see it anymore. I didn't want to be exposed to her people she's dating or the gifts that they're buying my kids. So I'm like, you know what? I need to get out of here. And so 18 months after we made the decision to separate, I finally moved out, found my own space. And as soon as I found my own space, I really felt that I could start my healing process and start really moving on into this next chapter of my life. And so when it comes to making the decision, do you stay or do you go? I think there's a couple mistakes that you need to learn from me. These are 2 mistakes that if I had to go back and change things, these are the 2 things that I would have changed. Number 1, if you can, make an agreement, if you're going to co-parent living in the same house, that both of you are not going to date someone. Now, my original agreement with my ex was we were allowed to date someone but not bring them home to see our kids. At the time, I thought that was a good idea because at the very least, we could still kind of start moving on with our life while not exposing our kids to our dating life. But long story short, just living in the same house and knowing that my ex was dating someone else, having romantic encounters with someone else, living in the same house, it messed with me. And I was very much the type that tried to be the bigger man. In my mind, I said, well, we're not together anymore. She can do whatever she wants with her own life. We both deserve to be happy. And that's absolutely true. However, if you're living under the same roof, I think it's fair for both parties to agree not to date each other until you're finally physically separated in the space. It's just gonna go a long way just for both of your mental health. And also, it's not gonna expose the kids to any type of new relationship, especially if it's too soon for them. If they're younger kids, it might be too soon to introduce them to someone who may potentially be their stepfather or their stepmother. So the first mistake that I'll share is, as much as possible, try to prevent dating anyone for that period of time while you're cohabitating until you can actually move out and have a clean slate and start moving on in the privacy of your own home and in your own space. Number 2, 18 months was way too long. Now, if you're trying to find out, well, how long should I continue co-parenting and cohabitating with my ex, I would say the sweet spot is between 6 months to 1 year. That should be enough time for you to deliver the message to your kids, for everyone to now adopt to this new way of living and this new way of life between you and your ex. And that should also give you enough time to sort out your legal arrangement and then also help you find a new place that you could potentially move to. And so between 6 to 12 months, I find would be the ideal sweet spot to accomplish all of that. What would help in that transition while you co-parent as well? This is an arrangement that I had with my ex. So during the week, we would still do everything as we usually did as a family in terms of parenting, cooking, family activities. And then on the weekends, we would actually have days off. So Saturday and Sunday, we'd alternate having those days to ourselves where, our ex would be at home with the kids or doing their own thing and you had your own time to start doing your own thing. I think that was also very useful for my kids to also see that there would be periods of time where they wouldn't see their parents at all. And instead of starting from 100% of the time to only 50%, we kind of bridge that gap by allowing ourselves to have a weekend off here and there, alternating weekends. And I think that was very productive for our kids as well, very helpful for them in that transition. But between that 6 to 12 month mark is where you want to stick. Anything longer, I think it's just going to get you to a point where mentally it's going to be draining and you're just going to start resenting the other person, which is not the place that you want to be in. So if you're looking for an ideal time frame, 6 to 12 months is ideal. And then after that, once you're able to move out, you'll know at that point that you've had the time that you've needed to prepare your kids, your ex, everyone who's involved for this transition. And not only that, you've also prepared yourself to now start living this chapter on your own, but doing it in such a way where you reduce the risk of damaging your kids and damaging the relationship that they have with you and your ex-wife throughout that period. So I hope this helps you. Feel free to comment below if you have other strategies that you've used that have been successful. This is my experience. This is what I found was super helpful in transitioning my kids to seeing their parents now part-time, 1 week on, 1 week off. And it's been a wonderful change ever since. So I hope this video helps you and finds you at the right time. Thank you very much again for watching again, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Peace out.